Okay. 13th of April, 2024. In a car park behind Sainsbury's. Quiet, in fact. A couple of kilometres out of Penzance. I didn't even want to say that word because, right, I don't want to sound pretentious. Having once every few weeks, only because it's here, meandered a town like Penzance Saturday mid-morning through lunchtime. It is entirely the same as being back in London, which is the last thing I intended ever. I left London 30 years ago. Oh, I popped back over a decade now and again, just taking my daughter to museums and things occasionally, and then over 5 or 6 years popped back to go and do legal cases, helping people who'd ended up having to go to the High Court. That was an astonishing. I had no idea I could ever, in a month of Sundays, be doing that. Right. But this whole county, this whole region, in a way it's good for me, but so bleak. Meaning, you realise what you're up against with the environment. The environment is about only one thing. Stuff. Consumerism. Everything. All of what we see around here. All of it. Even shit quality, but fences. And being among... There's no such thing as Cornwall. I have many talks with people recorded over the last year. I have zero interest. The word Cornwall is as irrelevant as the word Wales. Both regions happen to have colonised the people of the regions a word to create a theme park based on a myth. Everybody I meet here is essentially of a Londoner frame of mind. What does that mean? If you're of a big city, so forget the word London, if you're of a big city, there is no way that you can conceive of society stopping consuming. You don't actually consider yourself a consumer. I mean, to me, an outsider, it's astonishing how it's just about consumption. Even up here. Okay, silly man going on about bags of peat or something like that. But that's all unnecessary. It's just so much about consumption. People just... They don't actually... That's the thing I've really realised. They're not even aware anymore. 35 years ago in London, when I was based there, one would be aware. Things cost money and our consumption of the planet's resources. No, there are some people who perform a kind of awareness, but it's absolutely irrelevant. There is no notion of making do with what we have. None. So, this thing that years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, and it sounds inane even using this word, the monolith, all of it, military-industrial complex, plus media complex, plus prison complex, plus, well, it's media, meaning everything is about lifestyle. The media sells you how to be. This whole thing, and Britain is this thing as jotted on ralphskism.com, we are the service economy. So everybody is just, they can only live off of other human beings, which again sounds inane, because of course that's what a manufacturing economy is too. But both of these things have to stop. The service economy, oh, that's innocent. No, it's not. Because if somebody is going on their £300 a weekend feminine bloody mumbo jumbo retreat, they've got to be working, selling that stuff to afford that £300 retreat. It's just, but you realise being here how it is just, it's more than overwhelming. It is the system. Of course, what a puerile way of putting that. Perhaps there isn't any way of putting it, except one thing. You also realise how completely and utterly spiritually, but unfortunately to everybody down here, that means, oh, let's go and have our 17th Kalandi Rising or whatever, or let's go and burn some incest and research a new form of Buddhism. Bullshit. No, spirituality means having a lot of space to even enjoy a little cancer coming up on your forehead. I probably had one 6 months ago, 9 months ago, without any silly Eastern Zen. Eastern people tortured and hurt each other just as badly as anybody else. And more important than anything, you realise what the real problem is. What the real problem is, if you live in the environment, which is places with fewer people, the people in that environment, any interaction with them actually becomes important. You realise down here, to the city person, the person who lives in a more densely populated area, interactions are nothing. So the point being, how can you actually build any kind of movement to change anybody where it needs changing, where there is even more consumerism than anywhere else in the areas, the southeast, the southwest, which are all just London? Because the actual interactions between people, except when they're at a very specific performative level within confined, accepted, it is such a performance. And if you don't quite perform with even your gestures to the accepted settings, you don't fit here. But because it's a anonymous, basically, city, this whole county, it doesn't really matter. All I know is this, is that those who have been preaching within these communities, which I mean the street corner group who were pro-Palestine that I happened to walk past 3 hours ago, they failed. Palestine, Israel, is because of oil and consumerism in the West, just as much as anything else, which has totally destabilized the Arab world. Stopping being such consumers is the first step to all of these things. But I couldn't have a conversation with those people there. Can't you understand? We've failed. We've been listening to the same people saying the same things for 45 years regarding human rights. Anyway, that's it. Except my last, but it's like it's been there for 7 years. I'm going to use this little label of this word, Sudea.com. When it came, it seemed an important, momentous thing. I don't mean came as in the angel sent it, or maybe they did. Just a word to use as a label for making a point. There we go. I shall try. I have nothing else left to do except be happy, because today's a good day. I put myself, even though I'm always measured and I never get frantic, nevertheless, when I switch on at waking up, I put everything into it. And I had a jolly good lunch today. I treated myself to some meat, very rare, and then a siesta for an hour. So If you can do that in life, all is well. And that really is the case. In other words, it doesn't smother me, except part despair, part there is nothing. In these societies, there is nothing. Can people at least try and create something to put in the vacuum of their absolutely nothing, despite the fact they're busily buzzing around all the time? There is nothing. Oh, whatever. But truth, honesty is a good thing.